Hey guys, Daily Venom after day 19 of practice. I had a message for our young people today that was, and throughout the whole week, was that there are a couple of ways that you can learn. You can learn by obviously doing it wrong and hopefully figuring out how to do it right. You can watch somebody else do it right and try to model it, or you can watch somebody do it wrong and make sure you don't do it that way. All three involve engagement, involve you having a willingness to pay attention to what causes success or failure. And, throughout my days as a coach, I probably coached thousands of young people, whether it be in track, football, basketball. It's probably been many a thousands, I don't know. But the ones that stand out in my mind the most are the ones who really maximized what they were given. Everybody has their deficiencies, but to maximize what God gave you and do it the very best you can, they're the ones that stand out to me the most. And many of the people that are most memorable, unfortunately, have many times the things associated with their existence with me, with tragedy. Having now coached going into 27 years, I've had a lot of good and bad moments. One that stands out to me was one of my basketball players when I was 25, 26 years old. I was a head basketball coach at a high school in Southwest Virginia. And we had cuts. And I had a coach in high school that told me the best way to do cuts was go rank your players 1 through 7. Keep them. But cut 8, 9, 10, 11 because they think they're as good as number 7 or 6. And then go ahead and keep your 12, 13, 14, 15. And then you'll probably have a bunch of kids that are happy to be on team, will work their tails off, and will do anything you asked. Well, when I made my cuts, I followed that prescription. It wasn't easy because really 8 through 15 were all about the same. But one of the young people I kept, he was in that 8 to 15 range. He wasn't the greatest athlete. He wasn't the biggest. He didn't do a lot of things that were noticeable to the common eye. To me, he busted his hump. He did everything I asked him to do. He loved his teammates. He loved being a part of the process. So I kept him. And we're going into that season, and I'd already made the cuts, and he'd made the varsity basketball team. It was an exciting moment. His brother had an FCA concert, a music concert that weekend night. He went to the concert. In order to make the curfew that we had in the state and the county, he left the concert early. His name was Josh. And Josh left the concert early, make sure because he was just such a good kid. He was always going to do right. He didn't want to do anything wrong. He left the concert early, and as he was coming around a curve, a drunk driver hit him head on. And he was airlifted to Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center in Winston-Salem. He was given very limited odds of survival. They had to remove a fairly large portion of his brain to keep the hemorrhaging at a minimal. And we were, as a team, devastated. So I took our team down there on Monday, maybe even that Sunday, I don't recall, but we came down there to the hospital, and I took the entire team down there to go visit him in the hospital. So it was a trying time. Everybody was in tears. For the next 3 or 4 days, we kind of did the same. We kind of didn't practice, and we went down there to go be with the family. His father, Rick, good personal friend of mine, just good people. And you just wonder sometimes, why do bad things happen to good people? But as strong as they were in their faith, it even crumbled them at times, as you can understand. He eventually did make it out of the hospital, but he was a quadriplegic, limited speech, has had numerous operations and procedures, limited to a wheelchair, dad and mom and stepmom, they've done such a tremendous job of taking care of him his whole life. But the thing also that stands out in my mind was taking that team down there to see Josh in the hospital, not knowing if he was going to live or die, and knowing that a drunk driver had taken that much from him. To see our young people's expressions, to see what impact I knew that it was having on them, I just thought for sure that we were all going to learn lessons. And unfortunately, those kids didn't take those lessons to heart very long, because it wasn't too long after that we had a couple of basketball players that wrecked, and they were drinking themselves and they were underage. So as a coach, I could not be more disappointed in the message that I was sending. Maybe I wasn't doing a good enough job of conveying what my expectations were, but just for teenagers not to see something so real life and so devastating and not learn a lesson from it, I just wondered, what in the world can I do? And that the young man, Josh, who did things so well and wanted to be just the best person and teammate that he could be, he was there, unfortunately, to teach a lesson that these young people didn't want to learn. So I preach all the time. It changed me as a coach. It really changed my whole perspective on how I was supposed to coach and how limited our time is with one another. But also, my impact some days just doesn't have the effect it should or can, but it doesn't mean I have to stop. So this was so many years ago, but it sticks with me so strongly. So my hope is for our young people that they don't just learn lessons from the good. Don't just learn lessons from what you do well. Learn lessons from the mistakes you make and don't do them again. And then learn lessons too from all those people who make mistakes around you, and try not to duplicate them. Do your best to avoid the negatives in your life and figure out ways to emphasize the good things. And those good things are your parents. The good things are your relatives. Hug them, kiss them, love them, because nothing's assured. We all know that. But there's a lot of assurance that a lot of negative can happen if you continue to take on negative action with negative thoughts and all the time surround yourself with people that are doing just the same. Invariably, you're going to succumb to some negativity as well. So learn your lessons, hard as they may be, learn them, but love those people while they're in your lives. And hopefully get better and better and better every day. Live like Josh. Go attack today. Be the best you can be, no matter what. Hootie hoop.